Welcome back, friends. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Aaron.
This is our show, Crypto Cosm, where I talk about how the astrology that affects our times affects the crypto market.
And I bring you more of that worldly crypto news.
That's right. And we have, as always, a lot going on, a lot to share and a lot to talk about.
Absolutely.
We have, in astrology land, we have something called a grand trine. And we've talked about this before, which is a grand triangle. So there's four elements in astrology. There's fire, earth, air, and water. So yeah, there's four.
Yep.
Now 4 and 12. Now you get a perfect harmonious triangle when you dissect those, right? So whenever we have planets that are in all three of the same fire sign or the same air sign or earth sign or water sign that are around the same degrees, again there's 30 degrees in each sign, then it creates this harmonious connection of a triangle, very free-flowing aspect of water, 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 fire, fire, fire. You know, so it, pretty intense energies, and we have 5 of those happening in the next week, which is pretty rare, and it's all happening. Well, first it's starting on the 22nd. All right, with Earth. Earth. We've got the moon, emotional, stable moon in Virgo, very analytical, very, it's looking what's right, what's wrong, all right? And that's making that connection with Uranus, which just moved into Taurus, okay? Earth sign of Taurus, and also making that connection with Saturn. So it's like breakthroughs, groundbreaking breakthroughs of finances, while structuralizing the governmental institution with a grounded, emotional, and analytical, laser beam focused purpose. Okay, that's on the 22nd. So
that's a mouthful.
There's
a lot going on with just that right there.
So we're analytically, emotionally, analytically looking at the way that we view finances and structuralizing them on the big overall, the grand governmental aspect of money.
Well, I see some correlations there.
Yes.
I see quite a few correlations there.
Yes.
We've had so many different avenues open up for laying the groundwork because of this infrastructure now in place for the big players, for that institutional money.
Right, because we need, and that's what's funny and now now the next day on the 23rd, as the moon moves a little bit further, it's still going to be in Virgo, and now it's making that connection with the deeper planets, Pluto in Capricorn, which is later on the 20 degrees, of Pluto, and of Mercury, which is in Uranus, which is in Taurus. So now again, we're talking about that same focused, analytical viewing, but grounded, emotionally grounded, transforming of our government, transforming the financial institutions, and we're communicating that about money. It's all about the finances and money, and we have to do this in a very grounded manner. So again, we're talking about it, but we're transforming the way that we're communicating about this. So it's like, again, we're opening these doors to bigger players, bigger pools, and the bigger whales.
Well, it's interesting because in the crypto world, unlike the previous realm of IPOs and things like that, where you have the venture capitalists and the big money players coming in first, and then the little people coming in after, it's completely reversed. So with the volatility of the crypto markets at hand, the big institutions were like, I don't know how thin this ice is, and I don't think I trust it. So I'm not going to venture out too far because, well, I mean, you throw a whale on some thin ice and it's going to just fall right through. So we've really been laying so much groundwork. We have enough individuals across the entire globe now. And now the big businesses are starting to go, well, we see the validity in it. We see where this is going. We see the benefits of it. It's not a scam anymore. So
Right.
Thanks a lot, JP Morgan and all of them. But
now they're jumping on. Oh wait, did I
say
that?
No.
Yeah.
No, it must have been
I meant it's going to be the future of money, and I can't wait to get all of us on board.
That's right. And but now, I mean, the way has been paved. We have paved that way. So everybody out there that's been taking those risks and diving into this pool, creating this platform for more money to come in, and we haven't even seen beyond the 3%. I mean, just if we look at the technological adoption curve, which is just a regular bell curve going straight up and then straight back down, The first one, we have 1% of the individuals, which are the innovators, the individuals that build the platforms. The next is 3%, which is where we're at now, is those early adopters and those big risk takers. The next leap is 13.5% of those individuals coming in that are like, oh yeah, this is great.
So we're jumping from 3% to 13.5 is the next wave.
On top of the 3%. So we'll be at 16.5%. And this pattern has been repeated throughout history and time itself. It has been tested.
That's a TA for you. Come on, like it's coming.
So
it's coming.
When you see all those different individuals that are like, I know what's coming, it's going to happen, and that's what they're basing their knowledge off of, is these basic technological adoption patterns.
And these patterns, and that's exactly what we're dealing with when it comes to astrology. These are repeating patterns that happen throughout the history of time. So again, let's just recap for the real quick, the 22nd and 23rd. So again, Uranus, which is the planet of technology and breakthroughs, is in the place of finances. Okay, finances and money, my money, and all these great things. Then the Moon is in the emotional state of Virgo, which is analytically yes and no. What is right? What is wrong? Yes to this, no to this, and we're structuralizing it with Saturn up there in Capricorn, which is our government. Then the 23rd, we're getting hit with the same Moon connecting now with the Pluto. Transforming our government. So we're structuralized. Now we're transforming the next day and we're talking about it. All right. We need to communicate these things. And then the very next day, Thursday, now we're moving into air. All right. So now the Moon is moved into Libra, which is, let's talk about not only what's right or wrong, but what's good for you, what's good for me. Okay, and that's making that trine aspects to the Sun in Gemini, which now the Sun is in Gemini, so it's let's talk about stuff. You know, Gemini is the sign associated with Mercury. So it is the intellectual, intelligent, let's communicate about all this stuff. And that's making that trine again. So the Moon, Libra, yes or no, right, wrong, you, me, us, together, Sun, information, all the information of what's going on, with Mars, the accelerator, up in futuristic Aquarius. Okay, so it's like we got to talk about what's going on, what's good for you, what's good for me, so we can move forward to the future. That's what's happening. So it's like we got 2 days of structuring, and then we're gonna take what we figured out over the next 2 days, and then we're gonna move forward into the future with it. We're gonna make these things happen, and then. I mean, we've got even more coming next week with this full moon on the 29th. That's going to be a very passionate, very interesting full moon. We do usually see some dips around the full moon. That one's going to be interesting. We'll talk more about that on Wednesday, but just that and alone, just those 3 grand trines over the next 3 days alone is enough to keep our crypto world busy and occupied. You know, so many people want to know from me, like, well, what is when LAMBO? When is to the moon, Aaron? When is the big, you know? And it's like, okay, this stuff is important now as we're getting there. We're creating the steps that we need to climb the ladder. You know, that's where we're at. We're in structuralized zone. We're in. Yep. You know, we've got to learn how to crawl before we can run, but we're gonna run, and that's, you know, that really looks like October through December is like. Mega moves are going to happen that time. So when LAMBO, when Moon, as far as I can see, October through December.
Well, it's interesting. We got the G20 meeting, which is all the big wigs from the Federal Reserve and things like that, and the world bankers are going to be coming together here in just a few weeks. And interesting, none of the items that they talk about in that meeting is allowed outside of the room. So it's a very, very, very hush-hush scenario. And there's a lot going on there because of all the different parties across the globe coming together. And while a lot's going on, we may not see these things coming to fruition or be hearing about them until they're actually finalized and maybe even possibly developed. But there's going to be a lot there that we have yet to hear about and might yet hear about for some time after that meeting has come to fruition.
What day did you say that?
I believe it's the first or second week of next month.
That's interesting. And now we've also talked about, you know, as we just said a moment ago, that Mars Mars is in Aquarius. Again, so Mars is that accelerator, right? It's the foot on the gas. And it's up there in futuristic Aquarius right now. So Aquarius is, again, it's the community moving forward. It's all future thinking. So those two together, and what's happening right now in our world, is it so coincides that it's ridiculous. But, so it only retrogrades once every 2 years or so, okay? When it does, it slows down a lot. It takes about 2 months, 60 days for Mars to get through that 30 degrees, okay? It's going to spend, so 2 months is an average. It's going to spend 6 months this year. 6 months in Aquarius, all right? So when we're talking about the future and moving through the future of technology, that's Mars in Aquarius. And it's 6 months this year because of this retrograde. It's going to spend about a month moving forward. And then June 9th, it starts to move back into back into Capricorn. So it's like, all right, we're moving forward. Now we're going to rethink this, and then it's going to move forward again. And it's, that whole process is going to take about 6 months. And, we talked about last episode about 40 days after the conference that just happened. Why am I failing the name of it here? Consensus. About 40 days after consensus, that we had seen a great, shift jumping up last year, and even the year prior, and that's coming up again, and that's going to come up right during the time of this Mars retrograde, as we're moving back to restructure and rethink the future of money. It's just interesting how all of these things are kind of lining up right now. And again, the last time we had seen a Mars retrograde was 2 years ago, and that was also, it was a different time, but it was also during a great spike in the crypto. Now again, that to me is not the spike that's going to happen that we're going to see at the end of the year. During the Venus retrograde and during the Mercury retrograde, that time, the end of the year, that's going to be the lit money. But what's coming up right now is a very, very, very interesting time. As we're forging the path of a new future together.
I love it. I love it. Speaking of new futures, we have when Mainnet. This is I'm going to call it the year of the Mainnet.
The year of the Mainnet.
There are so many different coins, and we're going to talk about quite a few of those, that we're going to see a lot of interesting events that haven't happened in crypto history yet.
So a lot of fun things that are happening in the astrology world and crypto history at the same time that are like the first stuff doesn't happen.
A lot of new things. So
good things.
We're gonna put Ethereum under the microscope. So Ethereum is hovering just right around $700 with a $70 billion market cap and is lingering in the #2 spot. So we've seen these top 10 coins kind of, some come in, some come out, some are dipping their toes in the water, others climb up to space #5 like EOS with $11.6 billion out of the blue, just kaboom, exploded.
And why is that?
They're getting ready to launch their mainnet, and there's a lot of money being dumped in here. The mainnet release is huge in the crypto space. It's really a big thing. But what we haven't seen is a company as big as EOS, $11.6 billion now. Well, it was built on the ERC20 token network, the Ethereum network. Now, with the launch of their own mainnet, it's going away from Ethereum. So we have $11.6 billion of market cap being shifted away from the direction of Ethereum.
That's big news.
So that's June 2nd. June 2nd, EOS mainnet. That's when. Not only that, June 21st, TRX, Tron, another mainnet totaling $5 billion in market cap.
$5 billion.
So that's a total of $16 billion moving in the opposite direction of the Ethereum network. So I think it was in January, I was watching Vitalik Buterin host a speech, and his big thing was what is going to be the next Ethereum killer? And he was like, very, very tall and proud, Ethereum 2.0 is going to be the Ethereum killer. And I was like, okay. And at the time, I mean, time moves so fast in the crypto space. And this was only 4 or 5 months ago, where he was talking about adding sharding into the Ethereum network. Now, we've spoke about this before on the show, and the timeline to add sharding to the network was 2 to 3 years.
Which is that's a long roadmap, man. That is a long time to say, hey, we've got this cool idea in a few years.
And meanwhile, there's several other companies like Zilliqa now, who has
Bring it on.
released their test net and is getting ready for their mainnet. The latest date that they've given us is September 30th.
Of this year.
Which is the latest coin to reach the $1 billion market cap. So it's number 25 now. So we have all these other ones climbing the ladder. So we have EOS mainnet release. We have TRX mainnet release. We have Zilliqa mainnet release. What else do we have? We have ADA. So ADA
love me some Cardano.
I'll tell you what. There's a special place, and just call it a feeling, call it a hunch. But they're going to be, now their mainnet is already released. It was released September 2017, but it was basically set up to where they set up their own nodes, and it's only being used proprietary. So they're getting the network going. And then in Q2, Q3 of 2018, this year, they're going to be releasing the, what do they call it, the Shelly release, which includes all of their staking models. So we're going to be switching from a proof of work over to a proof of stake. So no longer will we have to have just machines mining, but we can have users with their open wallets staking their coins, verifying transactions, and hosting this network to allow it to function as needed properly. And it'll be ready for release in Q2, Q3. And they're really putting a lot into their incentives and their reward programs that we've been talking about for all of these different coins. This one is going to be just ginormous. I think it's just like the sleeping giant.
Right? Absolutely.
You just don't know how big it's going to be until it stands up and it starts just walking around shaking the ground. And
that's a perfect analogy too. I absolutely love it.
I just and these are these coins. I mean, $1 billion, $5 billion, over $11 billion. Cardano, I think that was the only one I didn't check right before the show, but. I mean, we're talking $25 to $40 billion worth of stuff that's really going to start kicking into the high gear. Now, we've been talking about Bitcoin and Litecoin and Ripple, and that's been 1, 2, 3 for the longest time. For the longest time. And, but these are all like first generation cryptos.
Right.
We haven't seen the rise of the second and the third generation cryptos, and now we're just starting to see them poke their heads out of the ground, take a peek around, and saying, okay, guess what? Get ready, we're coming.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen this much money carried away from other platform coins in the other direction. Well, what's going to happen to Ethereum when some of this happens? Is it going to affect that market cap?
Right.
What is the dynamic there?
Right. I mean, and that's a good point. Is like, again, our overall market cap is still, I mean, it's always fluctuating, but it's always still climbing. Every time it gets hit, you know, it gets right back up again. It's kind of amazing. But the individuals, right? I mean, we had seen Ethereum get just over $1,000, and you know, we had talked about it as like, you know, there's that kind of fear of, is it really going to get to the $1,000 point? And it did, and it went over and surpassed it. And it was just like, holy smoke, sitting right up there with Bitcoin Cash, you know, which was at 4K, then down. You know, they've been in an interesting. You know, there's like a mental thing. People are like, no way, Bitcoin Cash is not going to get it lower than Ethereum, you know. But they got really, really close. And then it dropped all the way down to like 370, 380 bucks, which was wild. Because again, you know, I really like to look at last year's numbers in December and say, where was everything then? We had seen the great rise. You know, it was right around $500. And I'll still say Litecoin has still been the one that stayed its head above the water the entire time. Bitcoin has fluctuated below that December 3rd date. Ethereum fluctuated below it, but it went right back up. You know, again, it's $700 right now is a really good price for it. But as we're seeing all these companies, and it is the platform creating tool.
Yeah.
You know, like right now in the world, of cryptocurrency, it is the tool of like, if I'm going to create something, it's going to be in an ERC20 token. It's going to be on Ethereum network. You know, it's interesting. And now it's just like, well, there's more options. You know, like we talked about, we've been talking about AOL Instant Messenger. It might have been the first one, but if you try to IM me, I might have 1,000, you know, unread messages, and they're never going to get read.
Yeah. So like I said, the options. That's 1, 2, 3, 5 different mainnets coming out.
Right.
VeChain is also coming out. Lisk had the rebranding. Icon is still there. Now we're really starting to see these all in their prime, all ready to just really get started to get ramped up.
We are just getting started.
We are just getting started. It was like before there was only Verizon, and that was it. That phone company you either have the one plugged into the phone or plugged into the wall,
right, AT&T,
or you got the one company to pick from that's really doing it all. And now we have so many different options, and it's going to be interesting. We don't even have that competitor interaction yet, to the point where you're, you know, incentivizing more this way and incentivize, oh, they're doing that now? Okay, yeah, we're going to do that too. Oh, they're doing that over there. Okay, yeah, we're going to start doing that too. And we're going to get this competitive nature between these different blockchains to, you know, race to the top of the mountain.
It's true. And it's another aspect that I think we've been seeing this year is we've been getting so many more new people in. And with more new people, there's obviously, we get, you know, become more experienced ourselves. And at first, you know, Bitcoin. And I think we're seeing a lot now, like every time Bitcoin rises, every time some of these newcomers come in, you know, join our pool, and the Bitcoin thing rises up, and then it's just like, well, if it's already at $9,000, $10,000, I'm not going to become that Lambo millionaire or bazillionaire off of Bitcoin these days. It's going to be from me investing in one of these other smaller tokens or these newer starting budding companies that I believe in as a future in. So it's like every time we see like more money coming into Bitcoin, and then it's like the experience now is like, oh, I'm going to take my profits and put it into this over here because, you know, and it's what it's coming down to is, well, I want to make the most amount of money, so am I going to put something in this, it's a fraction of a cent or a couple pennies or 10 cents here or $2 here, or is it, or I'm going to put something in a company I really believe in, you know? I mean, and hopefully those are one and the same. So that you can, you know, you and the company you believe in is going to be making that money together.
Absolutely. And I think we should do something that dives in a little more to portfolio diversification and talk about those different avenues that people are looking at. I mean, you have from the business end, you have from the technical perspective, you have from what's being done already. I mean, there's many different ways to hedge those funds. It's interesting. So last but not least, one of the things that I wanted to bring up that tied into the Ethereum as well was Vitalik Buterin had tweeted a tweet. I love that. Tweeted a tweet that mentioned, or that actually showed the email that he got from Google asking him to come on over.
Come on in, son. We've got a conversation to have.
And not only that, posted a poll whether he should or not. Now, some time ago, the same conference that I was watching, Vitalik had come out on stage and probably had a little bit of a tear in his eye saying, blockchain isn't where it should be. We're not doing enough for humanity, and the market cap shouldn't be anywhere near where it's at. And it was ready to quit the space completely. So I don't know if that's going to tie into his decision with Google, or whether he's just going to pull a Charlie Lee and go, oh, well, you know, it's time for me to get out and to move on to something different. Does he foresee things coming with all of these new ventures coming in? I mean, the guy's a genius.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's on some sort of alien intelligent level that most people could never reach in the capacity of their lifetime. And, you know, it would be interesting just to have just a one-on-one directly with him, just to know what that conversation would be like, where that actually lies.
Well, we'll do a live Skype with him one of these days.
That would be fantastic.
Tune it in, Vitalik. Yeah, we'll get you on the show.
Want to know what you really think. But it's going to be interesting to see where he falls and what happens with Ethereum, because it was the biggest and bestest for a little while, but we have so many competitors that jumping into the ring right now. I mean, we're ready for a Royal Rumble.
Royal Rumble. But first,
let's get ready to True Wisdom.
We're going to end, always, I'm going to pick it today.
Do it.
Do it. True Wisdom. What do we got? When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Maya Angelou. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time.
All right, Vitalik.
Right. That's kind of funny because it's like, dude, eyes on you. He called it. We're putting the microscope on you. What are you doing?
What's it going to be? We'll get him on the show here. It's going to be my next private message. Thanks again for joining us here on Crypto Cosm. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that little notification down at the bottom so you don't miss a beat.
We'll see you next time.
Crypto Cosm.